The sun was setting on the alien world of Zorith, casting long shadows over the jagged mountains and strange glowing forests. Among the thick trees and strange plants, a young alien woman named Liara moved quietly, her heart pounding with fear. She had heard stories of the tribal aliens who ruled this land with cruel laws. And now she was trapped in their territory. Lyra's skin shimmered in shades of violet. Her eyes, large and golden, full of curiosity and life. But now those same eyes were wide with terror. She had been captured while exploring the forest near her home, thinking it was safe. But the tribal aliens had been watching her for days, waiting for the perfect moment. The tribe was ruthless, known across the planets for capturing young alien women for their dark rituals. Their leader, Graphic, was feared by everyone. Even the bravest warriors avoided his gaze. Liara knew that once she was taken to the tribe's stronghold, there would be no escape. Chains clinked as she was dragged through the forest, the sound echoing like a warning. She struggled, but the alien guards were stronger than her, and their grip was unyielding. Every step took her farther from safety and closer to a life she did not want. Her mind raced with questions. Why me? Why now? She remembered the stories her mother told her as a child about humans and aliens who defied the rules. But she never thought those stories could help her now. She had to survive. She had to find a way. The guards did not speak. Their expressions hidden behind masks made of bone and metal. They moved with precision, knowing every path and every hidden corner of the forest. Liara realized that the forest itself seemed alive, watching her, guiding the tribe. Her heart beat faster, as she understood the trap was not only physical, but also cunningly set by the aliens who knew her every move. As they reached a clearing, Liara saw the stronghold in the distance, dark towers rising against the red sky. It was worse than she imagined. The walls covered with strange markings and glowing symbols that warned intruders of death. The air smelled of smoke and something strange, like fear itself. She felt a cold shiver run through her. She tried to run, even for a moment, but the guards quickly closed in. Her legs burned from the effort, and panic clouded her mind. She remembered the stories of other women who had tried to escape. Now few had succeeded. Her hope was fading with every step, yet she could not give up. Not now. One guard stepped closer, his eyes glowing a bright red. Liara froze. Feeling the weight of his stare, it was as if he could see inside her mind. Know her fears and thoughts. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to breathe. She had to stay calm. She had to think. Suddenly, the ground beneath her shook, and a loud roar echoed through the forest. Both Liara and the guards paused, looking around with alarm. The noise was deep and powerful, something that did not belong to their world. Liara felt a strange mix of fear and hope. Could this be a chance? Could something unexpected save her? Grathic's voice boomed from the distance, harsh and commanding. Do not let her escape, no matter what. The guards tightened their hold, dragging her faster. The stronghold grew larger, more menacing. Like a prison designed for nightmares, Liara could see figures moving on the walls. Watching her with cruel eyes, her mind searched for a way out. For anything that could help her, she thought of the rivers she had crossed, the cliffs she had climbed, the hidden caves in the forest. Maybe she could find a way if she stayed quiet and clever, but time was slipping, and soon she would be inside the stronghold, with no one to help, as the sun disappeared completely. The forest darkened, shadows twisting around her. Every sound was amplified. Every movement felt dangerous. Liara felt trapped in a living nightmare, yet somewhere deep inside, a spark of determination remained. She would not let herself be a victim. She would survive, even if it seemed impossible. Above the trees, a distant star shone bright, and for a moment, Liara felt a strange connection. Like someone was watching over her, she did not know who. But a small hope grew in her heart. Someone, maybe even a human, could break the rules and change her fate. For now, she had to endure. To survive the trap that the tribal aliens had set, the guards pulled her closer to the gates, their grip unyielding. And Leora's mind raced with fear and strategy. She knew that her life depended on thinking fast, staying alert, and maybe, just maybe, waiting for a miracle. The trap was closing, but the story was only beginning. The gates of the stronghold closed behind Liara with a loud clang, echoing through the dark halls like a warning. The air inside was heavy, filled with smoke, strange smells and whispers of those who had come before her. Every corner seemed alive, as if the walls themselves were watching her, judging her. She shivered, but forced herself to stand tall, knowing that fear could only make her weaker. Chains were fastened around her wrists, cold metal biting into her skin. The guards did not speak, their eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Their silence was worse than words, a constant reminder of her helplessness. Liara tried to remember her training, the lessons her mother had taught her about courage and patience. She told herself that she must stay calm, no matter what. Her first moments inside the stronghold were terrifying. The floor was cold and hard, the walls rough, and every sound was strange and unfamiliar. Liara could hear distant cries, echoes of pain, fear, and hopelessness. It was a place built to control minds and break spirits. She hugged herself, wishing she could disappear, but she knew that hiding would not save her. Grothek appeared suddenly, towering over her like a shadow. His eyes burned with power, and his voice was sharp. "You will follow our rules, or your life will be meaningless." Lyra's heart raced, but she looked at him without bowing her head. A spark of defiance remained in her, even if it was small. She had to believe she could survive, somehow. The tribal aliens brought her to a cell, a small space barely large enough to move. The walls were made of strange metal that seemed to hum softly, as if alive. Liara pressed her back against the cold surface, trying to feel safe, though there was little comfort in this prison. The chains on her wrists clinked as she moved, a constant reminder that she was not free. Time passed slowly in the cell, each minute stretching endlessly. Liara watched the guards patrol, listened to the sounds of others in the distance, and tried to understand the rules of this place. She learned quickly that any wrong move would bring punishment. Any sign of resistance would be crushed immediately, and yet she also learned that small actions, clever thoughts, and careful planning could give a momentary advantage. She began to study the patterns of the guards, their habits, the times they grew careless. Every shadow, every sound became a clue, and slowly she felt a small glimmer of control. Even in chains, her mind became sharper, her instincts quicker, and her hope, though tiny, began to grow. At night, when the stronghold was quieter, Liara thought of freedom, of the forests outside, of the sky above her home. She imagined running through open fields, the wind in her hair, the sun on her skin. These visions gave her strength. They reminded her that life was more than fear and chains, and that one day she might escape. Other captives came and went, some broken, some whispering warnings. Liara listened carefully. Learning from their experiences, the tribe did not care who she was or what she could do, only that she obeyed, and yet every small act of defiance, even a glance or a word, carried risk and taught her courage. She noticed a pattern among the prisoners. Those who lost hope were quickly crushed, but those who stayed clever and alert found ways to survive. Liara decided that she would not let the stronghold win her spirit. She would endure, learn, and wait for the right moment to act. One evening, as the sun barely touched the horizon, a guard brought her a meal, small and unappealing. Yet even this showed her something about the tribe. They controlled everything, even hunger. But they could not control her thoughts. Her mind wandered to stories of humans, mysterious beings who sometimes broke the rules and saved those in danger. Could one of them come for her? Could a human defy the impossible and challenge Graphic? Liara did not know, but the thought gave her a spark of hope, even in chains, even in fear. She imagined someone powerful, brave, and human walking into the stronghold, fighting for her, changing everything. Her imagination became a secret strength, a small rebellion in her mind that could not be chained. Hours turned into days, and Liara learned to move quietly, to watch and listen without being noticed. Every sound, every shadow was a lesson. She noticed that the guards often grew overconfident, that they sometimes laughed among themselves, and that the stronghold, for all its power, had weaknesses. Lyra's hope grew with each discovery, and though her body was tired, her spirit remained strong. She understood that survival would require patience, courage, and perhaps a miracle. She whispered to herself, "I will not belong to fear. I will not belong to chains." And though no one heard her words, they were powerful in the darkness of the stronghold. Liara waited, watched, and learned. Her chains clinked softly with each movement, a rhythm that marked her time. And yet, it did not break her. The trap had closed. The stronghold had claimed her body, but her mind remained free. And somewhere in the distance, she imagined a spark, a human hero who could shatter the rules and bring her freedom. Life in chains was cruel, frightening, and lonely, but Lyra's determination grew with every passing moment. The stronghold was dangerous, the tribe merciless, and the nights long, but she knew that her story was not over. That hope, cleverness, and courage could change everything. Even in the darkest prison, a spark of light could survive. The stronghold of Graphic was quiet, but not for long. Far beyond the jagged cliffs and glowing forests, a strange figure moved with purpose. Something unusual in the alien lands of Zorith. He was a human, tall and lean. Wearing a suit that shimmered faintly under the fading light, his eyes scanned the landscape, alert and cautious, yet full of determination. Liara felt at first as a whisper of hope, a strange feeling that someone powerful was near. Someone who did not belong to the cruel rules of the tribe. She pressed her back against the cold wall of her cell, listening, trying to see. But the stronghold's shadows hid everything. The faint sound of movement outside made her heart race. Her mind alive with questions, the human moved carefully. Avoiding the traps set around the stronghold, he was different from the aliens she had seen before. His steps light but precise, almost like he belonged to the wind itself. The guards outside did not notice him, distracted by their routines. And the human used their overconfidence to slip closer, unseen. Lyra's mind raced, trying to understand who he was. Why would a human come here, into a place where no outsiders dared to go? Could he be dangerous, or could he be the one to break her chains? Her hope grew with each quiet step he took, and for the first time in days, she imagined freedom. The human paused at the edge of the stronghold, scanning the massive gates and the glowing symbols on the walls. He touched a small device on his wrist, and a faint hum spread through the air. Liara watched, confused but fascinated. She had never seen such tools, such clever inventions. And she wondered how he had come so far undetected. The guards inside the stronghold were oblivious, arguing among themselves. Laughing and moving carelessly, they did not hear the faint click of the human's gadgets. Nor did they notice his shadow slip along the walls. Lyra's heart pounded with excitement and fear. Could this stranger really challenge Graphic and his tribe? Could he really save her? Suddenly, one of the guards stepped near the wall, sensing something unusual. The human froze, blending into the shadows, holding his breath. Liara held hers as well. Every nerve alert, the guard passed without seeing anything, and the human continued, a slow, careful predator moving toward his goal. He reached the outer gates. A massive barrier that had kept generations of captives trapped. The human touched the gate with his device, and slowly, almost silently, a small panel opened, revealing the intricate locks and mechanisms controlling the doors. Lyra's eyes widened, realizing that the human had come prepared, that he had planned this carefully inside her cell. Liara listened as the human moved, hearing the faint clicks, the soft hum of technology, and the subtle movements of a master at work. She imagined him as a shadow, a hero walking alone into danger, and a strange feeling of trust began to form. Could this be the human her mind had imagined in her darkest hours? The one who could shatter the tribe's rules. The human paused at the end of the hallway, looking around with sharp eyes. He noticed the shadows of the guards moving far ahead, their glow faint against the darkness. He moved with precision, avoiding patrols, and his every step seemed deliberate, confident, as if he had done this before. Liara felt her hope growing stronger, almost tangible. Time seemed to stretch as the human worked his way deeper into the stronghold. Liara listening, her heart pounding, every sound made her tense. But every step closer made her feel alive. The human reached the level where she was held. Stopping just outside the heavy doors of her cell, he touched the lock, studied it, and whispered under his breath, a language she did not understand, yet it sounded full of power. Suddenly, the lock clicked, and Lyra's chains rattled. She froze, unsure if it was real. But then the human's hand appeared, steady and strong, offering her freedom. Her heart leaped, and for the first time, she felt a flicker of courage rise within her. Could this stranger really risk everything to save her? Could he truly defy the rules of the cruel tribe? The human nodded once, a silent promise. And Liara knew she had a choice. She could run, trust him, or remain a prisoner. The shadows around them seemed to grow, watching, waiting, as if the stronghold itself sensed a challenge. She swallowed hard, taking a deep breath, and then she stepped forward. Trusting the stranger who had come from the unknown, outside the cell, the human moved quickly. Guiding Liara through narrow passages and hidden doors, she followed, feeling the chains fall away from her wrists, replaced by a strange mixture of fear, hope, and exhilaration. Every step was a test. Every corner a possible danger, yet the humans seemed to anticipate everything, leading her with confidence as they moved deeper into the stronghold. Liara realized that she had never felt so alive, so aware. The human's presence was a shield, a promise, and a challenge to everything she had known. The tribal aliens had ruled her life with fear, but now, with this stranger, she saw a glimmer of freedom, and the first real chance to escape. The stronghold was dangerous, filled with traps, shadows, and ruthless guards, but the human moved like a force of nature. Unstoppable, clever, and unafraid, Liara clung to his side, heart racing, knowing that her fate had changed. The story of her life in chains was shifting, and the first page of a new chapter had begun. Liara's heart raced as the human guided her through the twisting corridors of the stronghold. Every shadow seemed alive, every distant sound a threat. Yet the stranger's calm presence gave her a strange sense of safety. She watched him carefully, noticing the precision in his movements, the way he paused to listen, to observe, and to avoid danger. The guards were still unaware of their presence, moving lazily in the distance, confident that no one could challenge their rules. Liara felt a mix of fear and hope. Her chest tightened as she realized that one wrong move could undo everything. And yet she could feel a glimmer of freedom, close enough to touch. The human led her to a small, hidden stairwell, its entrance almost invisible in the dim light. He crouched low, motioning for her to do the same. Liara followed, feeling the chains of fear slowly fall away from her mind. She whispered a silent prayer to herself, hoping that courage would last through this dangerous journey. As they ascended the stairs, the human glanced back at her, his eyes sharp, alert, yet strangely kind. Liara caught a faint smile. A small gesture that spoke more than words ever could. She realized that this stranger was not only brave, but also thoughtful. And for the first time, she felt a connection beyond the fear. The stairwell opened into a long corridor, dimly lit by strange, glowing symbols on the walls. Leora's eyes adjusted slowly, noticing every detail. Every corner, every shadow could hide danger. But the human moved confidently, his hand brushing lightly against the walls. As if reading the vibrations in the air, she marveled at his skill and courage. Wondering how a human could master such a place, suddenly, a door creaked open ahead, and a guard stepped out, carrying a lantern. His eyes glowed faintly red, scanning the hallway. Liara froze, heart pounding. The human pressed her against the wall, moving silently, his hand over her mouth for a brief moment to stop any sound. She felt the warmth of his touch and a surge of trust. The guard passed without noticing them, muttering to himself. And the human waited until the sound of his steps faded before moving. Again, Lyra's pulse slowly returned to normal. And she realized that the stranger's timing, his precision, and his instincts were remarkable. She had never seen anyone so calm under pressure. As they continued, the human whispered softly. A language Liara did not understand, yet the tone was reassuring, full of intent. And she felt a strange comfort in it. He stopped briefly at a junction, listening, then gestured her forward with a silent command. Liara nodded, feeling her trust in him grow. She had never relied on anyone like this before, and it felt both frightening and freeing. They reached a small observation room, overlooking the inner courtyard of the stronghold. Lyra's eyes widened as she saw the tribal aliens below, moving in formation, preparing for some unknown ritual. The sight made her stomach twist, but the human's hand on her shoulder grounded her, reminding her that she was not alone. The human studied the courtyard carefully, then pointed toward a narrow passage along the side, almost hidden by shadows. Liara understood immediately. She had learned to read the environment in the stronghold, and this path could lead them closer to freedom. The human's eyes met hers briefly. A silent question, and she nodded, ready to follow wherever he led. As they moved toward the passage, a sudden noise echoed from the courtyard, a sharp clang that made both of them freeze. A guard had noticed something, and alarm spread quickly. Lyra's heart raced as the human held her back, pressing her against the wall. Every muscle tense, she realized that danger was closer than ever, and that their first encounter with the tribe's full power was about to happen. The human moved like a shadow, guiding Liara silently along the walls, avoiding the light and the gaze of the guards. She followed his movements instinctively, trusting his judgment, feeling a strange mixture of fear and excitement. It was as if the stronghold itself tested them, trying to see if courage and cleverness could overcome its darkness. Finally, they reached the hidden passage, a narrow corridor barely wide enough to walk through. Liara felt the chains of fear loosen even more as the human motioned her inside. He led her step by step, careful, silent. Like a protector in a world full of predators, she realized that this first encounter, this meeting with the human, had changed everything. For the first time, Liara felt a flicker of hope that was more than imagination. It was real, tangible, and it grew stronger with every step they took together. The stronghold was still dangerous, and the tribal aliens were relentless, but she had found an ally. Someone willing to risk everything to defy the rules. And that thought filled her with a courage she had never known. As they disappeared into the shadows of the hidden corridor, Liara glanced at the human once more, understanding that their journey had only just begun. This first encounter was not just about survival. It was about trust, bravery, and the possibility of freedom. The story of her escape was unfolding. The stronghold would soon feel the first real challenge it had ever faced. The hidden corridor smelled of damp stone and strange chemicals. The air thick with tension, Liara followed the human silently. Her eyes wide with wonder and fear. She could see the intelligence in his movements, the careful way he avoided the light and shadows. It was clear that he had a plan. But she did not know what it was. They paused at a small alcove. Out of sight from the main patrols, the human crouched low, examining a map etched into the wall. Strange symbols glowing faintly. He traced a path with his fingers, pointing out hidden exits. Traps and secret passages. Liara watched closely. Her mind racing to understand. She realized that this plan was their only chance to escape. The human whispered to her, words she could not understand, yet she felt the meaning he was asking. Her to trust him completely, to move only when he signaled, and to stay calm no matter what happened. Liara nodded, swallowing her fear. She had learned in the stronghold that obedience without thinking could be deadly. But now she understood that trust could save her life. He handed her a small device, strange and glowing faintly in the dim corridor. Liara took it carefully, unsure what it did. The human smiled briefly, and she sensed it was a tool for their escape, something clever, dangerous, and precise. Her heart raced as she realized that their plan was more than simple running. It was strategy, timing, and skill combined. The humans studied the patrols outside, noting the patterns of the guards. Their laughter, their movements, their pauses all became part of the plan. Liara realized that every detail mattered, and that a single mistake could ruin everything. She held her breath as the human pointed toward a small door leading to the inner courtyard, one that few guards noticed. He motioned for her to stay close, whispering instructions in gestures and nods. Liara understood immediately. Following silently, feeling a mixture of fear, trust, and excitement. Every step forward was a test. Every shadow a possible danger, and yet she felt a strange sense of control. Knowing that the human had thought of everything, suddenly, a noise echoed from the hallway behind them. A faint clank, and both froze. Liara's heart leaped. But the human pressed her against the wall, motionless, his eyes scanning for threats. A guard passed, muttering to himself, oblivious to the shadowed figures crouching in the corner. Once, the guard disappeared. The human continued, moving with precision and confidence. He reached the inner courtyard, observing the movements of the tribal aliens below. Liara could see the cruel patterns of their rituals, the way they trained their warriors, and the strict order they enforced. The human whispered quickly, pointing out a route that would take them around the guards, using shadows, hidden doors, and clever timing. She realized that his plan was not only bold, but brilliant. Lyra's pulse raced as she imagined the risk. Every step of the plan required courage, intelligence, and perfect timing. The human noticed her hesitation and gave a reassuring gesture, reminding her to stay focused, to trust him, and to follow exactly. She nodded. Feeling a surge of determination, this was her chance to escape, and she would not fail. The plan involved distractions, clever misdirections, and tools she had never seen before. Liara felt her mind sharpen as she absorbed every detail. She realized that survival required more than courage. It required thinking, observation, and quick action. The human had combined all these elements into a single strategy, and now it was up to them to execute it perfectly. Hours seemed to pass as they waited for the right moment, listening to the guards, observing patterns, and preparing for action. Liara could feel her muscles tense, her senses alert. She had never felt so alive. Every nerve on edge, every heartbeat echoing in her chest. The stronghold seemed enormous, full of danger, but the plan gave her hope. A path to freedom. Finally, the human gave the signal, subtle but clear. Liara understood immediately. They moved silently, shadows among shadows, avoiding the guard's gaze, following the hidden route. Her heart pounded with fear and excitement, every step a test of courage and trust. The air seemed to thicken with tension, every sound amplified, every moment critical as they reached. The first obstacle, a locked door with a complex mechanism. The human worked swiftly, his fingers moving with skill. Liara watched, learning silently, feeling the plan unfold in real time. This was more than escape. It was a lesson in bravery, intelligence, and precision. The human strategy was flawless, yet the danger was far from over. Liara realized that the plan was not only about getting out of the stronghold, it was about challenging the rules, defying the tribe, or reclaiming her life. Every movement, every decision carried risk. Yet the human's confidence and careful preparation gave her courage. She followed silently, trusting him completely, ready to face whatever came next. The first stage of the plan was set, the escape beginning. The shadows hiding their movements, and the stronghold unaware of the challenge creeping through its walls. Liara felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement, knowing that her life depended on courage, trust, and the brilliance of a human who had broken every rule to save her. The corridor twisted and turned like a labyrinth, shadows stretching long across the stone walls. Liara followed the human closely, every step measured, every sound amplified in her ears. She could feel the weight of the chains on her wrists replaced by fear and adrenaline. Her body tense and alert. The first door of the plan had been unlocked. The mechanism silent under the human's skillful hands. They moved quickly, slipping past the sleeping guards in the outer halls. Liara could hardly believe her eyes. The stronghold seemed almost alive, yet they had found a way to bend its rules, to move through its walls without being seen. Suddenly, a distant shout echoed through the halls, a warning bell of discovery. Liara froze. Her breath caught in her throat. The human pressed her against the wall, his hand firm on her shoulder. Guiding her into the shadows, she felt the strength of his presence, calm yet powerful, and she clung to it as if it were a lifeline. The guards were alert now, footsteps pounding closer, their glowing eyes scanning the darkness. Lyra's pulse raced, every muscle ready to run, jump, or fight. The human whispered quickly, pointing toward a narrow stairwell, almost hidden behind a stack of crates. Without hesitation, Liara followed, trusting his instincts, knowing that hesitation could cost her life. The stairwell led downward into the heart of the stronghold, a forgotten passage that few dared to enter. The air was thick with dust, and faint whispers of past prisoners seemed to linger. Liara felt a shiver, but the human moved with confidence, his hands guiding her along the rough walls, every movement precise, deliberate, and careful as they descended. A sudden noise above made them freeze. A guard had noticed something, and Liara's heart leaped. She could hear the shuffle of boots, the creak of a door, and the soft hiss of an alarm. The human pressed her against the wall, holding her close, and whispered in a strange language. She did not understand the words, but the tone gave her courage, a reminder that he had a plan. The guard passed without seeing them, muttering to himself, and the human continued downward, leading Liara into a narrow tunnel hidden beneath the stronghold. The walls were damp and uneven, and the air smelled of earth and metal. Yet Liara felt safer here than anywhere in the stronghold. The human's presence was a shield, a promise, and a guide. Suddenly, the tunnel opened into a small chamber, lit faintly by glowing crystals embedded in the walls. Liara's eyes widened. She had never seen anything so strange and beautiful. Yet there was no time to admire it. The human gestured for her to move quickly, the plan still unfolding, each step carrying risk, each breath a test of courage. A guard's voice echoed from the hallway above, demanding to know what had happened. Liara felt her stomach tighten, fear clawing at her. The human activated a small device, and a soft hum filled the chamber, creating a faint shield of sound, masking their movements. Liara marveled at the cleverness of the device. Realizing that this escape was more than bravery, it was strategy. Intelligence and timing combined, they moved through the hidden passages, climbing ladders, stepping over fallen debris, and slipping through small openings in the walls. Liara could feel the stronghold's power pressing against them, as if it knew it was being defied. She stayed close. To the human, every step a mixture of terror and hope, trusting him completely. Knowing that one mistake could end everything, the outer gates loomed ahead, massive and foreboding. Yet the human approached them with calm determination, studying the locks and the symbols etched into the metal. Liara held her breath as he worked, the device in his hands humming softly, unlocking the barriers with skill and patience. Every second felt stretched, the danger pressing closer, yet they were almost free. A shout rang out suddenly. A guard had discovered the disturbance. Liara's heart raced faster, and she clutched the human's arm. Her body trembling, he nodded, signaling her to move, and they ran. Slipping through the final corridor, narrowly avoiding detection. Her legs burned, her lungs ached, but the promise of freedom drove her forward. Finally, the gates opened, and they stepped into the cool night air. The forest beyond glowing faintly under the starlight. Liara gasped. Feeling the chains of fear fall away completely, the human pulled her into the shadows of the trees, safe for the moment. Yet both knew that the danger was not over. The tribe would not give up easily, but they had beaten the first challenge. And hope now burned brightly in Liara's heart. She looked at the human, seeing not just a stranger, but a hero who had defied rules, danger, and odds to save her. The narrow escape had tested every nerve, every instinct, and every ounce of courage. And they had survived. For the first time, Liara believed that freedom was possible, and that the journey beyond the stronghold was only the beginning. The forest outside the stronghold was alive with shadows and strange sounds. Liara and the human slipped quietly between the trees, each step careful. Every branch and leaf a possible threat. The night air was cool against her skin, and for the first time, she could breathe without the weight of chains pressing down. Liara glanced at the human as he moved ahead, scanning the surroundings with sharp eyes. Every motion was precise, deliberate, and confident. He seemed to know the forest, yet she could see that he was cautious. Aware that danger could be anywhere, she followed silently, learning from him. Her heart still racing from their narrow escape. The ground beneath them was rough, roots twisting like obstacles, and strange glowing plants illuminated patches of the path. Liara's senses were alive, every sound amplified, every rustle in the bushes a potential threat. She held her breath as a pair of glowing eyes appeared in the distance, then disappeared, and she realized that the forest was home to creatures she had never seen before. The human led her to a small clearing hidden by thick bushes, a safe place. To rest for the moment, Liara sank to the ground, her legs trembling, her mind still racing from the escape. The human knelt beside her, checking the area for dangers, and then gestured for her to stay quiet. She nodded, feeling the strange sense of safety in his presence. They waited in silence, listening to the sounds of the forest and the distant alarms from the stronghold. Liara could hear the echoes of patrols searching, the faint cries of guards discovering the disturbance. Her heart beat faster with every sound, but the human remained calm, his confidence radiating, reminding her to stay alert but not to panic. After a while, the human motioned for her to follow, leading her through a narrow path covered with thick vines. The forest seemed to close around them. Hiding their movements, Liara felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. Every step took her further from the stronghold and closer to freedom, yet danger still lingered like a shadow at their backs. The night was alive with strange noises, the calls of alien creatures echoing through the trees. Liara could feel their eyes on her, yet the human moved with a skill that made him almost invisible. His knowledge of the terrain, the hidden paths, and secret shelters gave her hope. She realized that she had never met anyone like him, someone who combined courage, intelligence, and careful planning. They reached a small stream, its water glowing faintly under the moonlight. The human paused, checking for tracks and disturbances, and then signaled her to drink and rest briefly. Liara knelt by the water, feeling its cool touch on her hands, and for a moment, she allowed herself to feel relief. She had survived the stronghold, she had escaped, and now, in the wilderness, she had a chance to regroup. The human spoke softly, pointing to the distant hills, explaining in gestures that they would need to keep moving. The tribe would not stop searching, and the forest, while hiding them now, could become a trap if they stayed too long. Liara understood, nodding. Feeling a strange mixture of admiration and trust, she realized that survival depended not just on escaping, but on clever movement, strategy, and timing as they moved. Liara noticed small signs of life in the forest, hidden paths, fallen logs that could be used for cover, and narrow gaps between rocks that could serve as temporary shelters. Every detail mattered, and the human's eyes missed nothing, guiding her step by step, teaching her without words, and showing her how courage and intelligence could combine to create safety even in the darkest places. Hours passed, and the moon moved high in the sky, casting silver light over the trees. Liara felt exhaustion creeping in, yet she kept moving, trusting the human to lead her to safety. She realized that she was learning more in these hours than she had ever known about survival. Courage and trust. The forest, once terrifying, now felt like a living lesson shaping her mind and spirit. Finally, they reached a hidden grove, protected by thick trees and giant rocks, a place where they could rest without fear of being seen. Liara sank to the ground, her body trembling from relief. The human sat beside her, keeping watch, and for the first time, she allowed herself to feel gratitude. She had escaped the stronghold, survived the chase, and found someone willing to risk everything for her in the quiet of the wilderness. Liara realized that survival was no longer just about escaping chains. It was about courage, trust, and cleverness, and the human had shown her all three. She looked at him, seeing not just a stranger, but a protector, a guide, and a friend. And she felt hope, real hope. For the first time in what felt like forever, the forest whispered around them, alive with secrets. And Liara knew that their journey was only beginning. Danger still waited. The tribe would hunt, and the world beyond was unknown. Yet with a human by her side, she believed they could face anything. Her chains were gone. But the lessons of the stronghold and the courage of her ally would carry her forward into the night and toward freedom.